Hello, you're listening to Everyday Encouragement, Timeless Truths for Today, a weekly podcast designed to bring you snippets of encouragement to help you as you go about your day. I'm Jenny Guy, your host. Witnesses are important because their testimony is used to support cases that are being argued. A witness basically says that he or she saw, heard, or experienced the thing that is being discussed. Today, we're going to look at the concept of witnesses and faith. Let's get started. Have you ever been somewhere and heard the question, "Can I get a witness?" Usually, that question is answered by shouts and roars of recognition. The shouters are saying, "Uh-huh, I've been there. I know what you're talking about." Just like a witness in a court case, those who answer yes to the question, "Can I get a witness?" intend for their answers to support the case that's being made. That's what today's episode is about, identifying witnesses and being a witness ourselves to how faith in God can affect our lives and circumstances. Did you know that there's a verse in the New Testament that talks about witnesses? It's found in Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1, and it goes like this: "Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us." This verse has many ideas in it. However, there are a couple that I want to emphasize. First, it says that we don't have just one or two witnesses. It says we have a great cloud of witnesses. That means there are a whole lot of people who are looking at us as we go through life running our unique races. These witnesses are saying to us, "Uh-huh, I've been there. I know what you are going through, and I know what God can do for you as you go through." Second, the verse begins with the word therefore. That word is very important. Therefore is a pointer word, and it points in two directions. It points backwards. Whenever you find a therefore in the Bible, that's your clue to go back and read the section that precedes the therefore. In that preceding section, you will find the concept or idea or situation that the therefore is referring to. And therefore points forward to a result, or to an ending of an explanation, or to the actions we should take, or even to the beliefs we should either correct or adopt as a result of understanding the preceding section. As you can see, the word therefore is important, and we shouldn't skim over it or take it lightly. What do I mean by all of this? Let me explain. Chapter 11 in Hebrews is the preceding chapter to the therefore of verse 1 in chapter 12. Chapter 11 is sometimes called the Faith Hall of Fame because it lists men and women of the Bible who overcame great challenges and obtained equally great demonstrations of God's power in their lives. You're probably familiar with many of them. For example, there's Noah, who built that fantastic boat which saved a remnant of humanity. Sarah, Abraham's wife, is listed there because she, who was well past childbearing age, had enough faith to conceive and go through a successful pregnancy. Then there's Rahab, a woman of the streets who recognized God's favor upon the Hebrews and aligned herself with them by protecting their spies. The list goes on and on, mentioning other ordinary people like you and me who faced difficult situations and problems. The Faith Hall of Famers came from all kinds of backgrounds and circumstances. However, they all had one thing in common. They believed God and what He said, and therefore had faith in Him. In fact, Paul sums up the accomplishments of these inductees into the Faith Hall of Fame by writing, "And what more shall I say? I do not have time to tell about Gideon, Barak, Samson, and Jephthah, about David and Samuel and the prophets, who through faith conquered kingdoms, administered justice, and gained what was promised, who shut the mouths of lions, quenched the fury of the flames, and escaped the edge of the sword, whose weakness was turned to strength, and who became powerful in battle and routed foreign armies." The people who Paul wrote about in chapter 11 are the great cloud of witnesses, and the therefore in chapter 12, verse 1, is encouraging us to follow their example by believing God and having faith in Him. "But, Jenny," you may say, "those folks lived way back then and were in situations that we typically don't encounter today. Their stories aren't all that relevant to us in the 21st century." And I would reply, "I'm sorry, but I don't agree with you, because faith is faith, no matter what century you find it in, no matter what problem you encounter." To give you an example closer to our own time of someone who believed God and lived a life of faith in Him, I'd like to share the story of George Mueller. He exhibited the kind of faith that the great cloud of witnesses had. Mueller was a preacher and evangelist who lived in England during the 19th century. While he traveled widely preaching and evangelizing, he is most remembered for the incredible work he did with orphans in Bristol, England. Mueller dedicated his life to proving that God hears and answers prayer. Life was extremely hard for orphans then. Mueller decided to build orphanages to house as many of these children as he could. That was a pioneering work in those days. But here's the kicker. Mueller determined to build the dormitories and house, feed, clothe, and educate the children without soliciting donations. He resolved that he would not tell anyone of his needs, nor would he ask anyone for help in meeting them. He would pray and depend on God's willingness to hear and answer prayer. In other words, Mueller planned to obtain everything he needed for his work with the orphans by relying upon God alone. Mueller began his demonstration of faith in God in 1834. By the time he died in 1898, he had cared for over 10,000 orphans. For more than 60 years, Mueller prayed in the funds and resources he needed to build, operate, and sustain the orphanages. I think I can anticipate your next comment. It probably goes like this: "But that was Mueller. He was extraordinary. Besides, he probably had some kind of special faith, which helped him to believe God in such an unusual way. I'm not like that. Well, I'm certainly not like that either. What I like about Mueller's story is this. He said that he deliberately chose to be a living demonstration of what faith in God could accomplish. He wanted his life to be concrete proof that God hears and answers prayer. Furthermore, Mueller taught that reading the Bible and believing God for what he says about himself and his willingness and ability to care for us was something that anyone could do. Anyone, like you, like me. Mueller kept meticulous diaries detailing each day's needs and the ways in which God met those needs. His diaries are fascinating to read, and I encourage you to read them whenever you need an extra shot of faith in your spiritual arms. I turn to Mueller's diaries when I need encouragement, for they remind me to take God at His word when He says that He doesn't have favorites, nor does He change. That means that what God did for George Mueller, He'll do for us, for you and for me. God will provide for us in our times of need, whatever our needs may happen to be. George Mueller was a witness. I'm sure that if he heard anyone ask, "Can I get a witness?" he would probably jump up and shout, "Here I am. I'm a witness as to what God can do." So, let us be encouraged by this great cloud of witnesses who are cheering us on as we face our challenges. And therefore, let us follow their example by having faith in God. I hope you heard something today that has encouraged you and possibly given you something new to think about that will motivate or inspire you. If you would like a PDF copy of the show notes for this episode of Everyday Encouragement, Timeless Truths for Today, visit my website at jguypublisher.com. New episodes are published each week on Wednesday. I hope you'll join me for another installment of Everyday Encouragement, Timeless Truths for Today. Well, that's it for now. Until next time, be encouraged.